So I would actually really like Tomb Raider, the original classic from 1996. It has a cool Indiana Jones-like atmosphere, exploring caves and messing with mechanisms and getting through ancient traps and the like. But there's, well, a few problems. I think there's going to be a running theme in this series. Most of the games that I talk about aren't all truly awful. A lot of what I'm going to find atrocious to play is only going to be because of a few problems. But these problems are so rampant within the game that they end up ruining the entire thing. Now, Tomb Raider was released in the early ages of 3D, when developers were still trying to figure out how you were going to control characters in such an environment. So we started with 3D racing games, and Alone in the Dark pioneered 3D environments with static camera angles. In order to make static camera angles work, they gave your character what is referred to as tank controls, that is, forward and backward. And while this control scheme is almost always awkward, though Metroid Prime somehow manages to pull it off, though, it works in the style of a survival horror game. Now, mechanically it feels clunky to make you feel more powerless. But why would you use this control scheme for a platforming game? Now imagine trying to play Super Mario 64 with tank controls. We'd end up with a Mario that suddenly feels clunky, slow, and hard to control. All complicated Mario maneuvers would be impossible to pull off. Yet that's how Tomb Raider plays. Actually, it's worse than that. There's a delay in the controls. Like a full second after you press the jump button, Laura will jump. When you want to jump forward, you have to actually press the jump button before you press forward, or else you'll just run off the platform. I mean, this makes basic platforming a challenge, and it gets complicated. You have to make all sorts of tricky jumps from high ledges, where if you miss a ledge, you die. Oh, and dying sucks. I might have been able to tolerate the terrible controls if only dying wasn't so punishing. There are only a few save crystals in each level, and once you use them, they disappear. And the levels are relentlessly long. This means that you're going to be redoing a bunch of sections over and over again, and you have to do them slowly because that's the only way to handle the controls. But it's not fun going back because the good elements of this game are exploring the tombs. But you can't explore when you're just going through the motions of what you've previously done. Luckily, the controls and difficulty have improved over the years, but later games in the series have problems of their own. Tomb Raider Legend brought a new style to the series under Crystal Dynamics, but the whole game just feels really cheesy. It's not bad, it's just not all that good. Meanwhile, the Tomb Raider remake did a lot right. I actually like it quite a bit. It's almost like an open-world Uncharted. I say almost because despite having Metroidvania elements, you're pretty railroaded, and the game's world is not open-ended at all, really. Sure, you can teleport around, but there's not much of a reason for that, and it's not very easy getting from place to place. Plus, while Laura as a character was made much more interesting, the actual plot and other characters are just awful. Still, the remake is leagues better than the original. Now the original game is the most influential game in the franchise. While Laura's most recent outing is a derivative of its contemporaries, the original game was fresh at the time. It was a pioneer, and like all pioneers of a new thing, there were a lot of kinks to work out, and it just so happens that those kinks here make Tomb Raider a very frustrating game to actually